Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Taking Up Space, a Michelle A. Mayer podcast. Always excited about coming forward, you guys. Today is absolutely no different. Happy Thursday, everyone. I hope you all are having a wonderful Thursday. I want to come on and give you guys something that I think is useful to you. I want to speak to something that was brought to my attention in my conveyance yesterday within my Bible study. And that is, how God is so consistent. Y'all, in our walks in life, this life can become so convoluted. The things that we experience, this is a different environment than it was thousands of years ago when Adam and Eve were in the garden. Even after they fell, this is a different environment. It's as if the decisions that have been made have snowballed, and they have kind of gotten so monumental in the world that we are all living in the decisions of all of those people of our yesterday and their monumental decisions. The world does not look anything like it did originally, all because of the creations. And with the creations comes different states of mind, different ways that philosophies we adopt to be able to manage our walk within this new environment and how we interact with one another. We've gone from the distrust that Adam and Eve began to experience in the garden to complete distrust that we have today. And so the mind will not be able to, with our own faculty, just with no direction from God or any angelic presence, be able to distinguish which path to take. We can't forecast out that far in advance because a lot of the things that are upon us are foreign to us. We don't know what we're dealing with a lot of times. Whether in business environments, whether even in relationships with one another, we don't know the fullness of the situations we're in. So we cannot depend on our own faculty to be able to navigate us through our walk in life. It is pivotal. We must have a relationship with something stronger than just us. I don't care if it's a master metaphysics individual that's privy to the sciences of advanced metaphysics, or if it's someone that is very religious, or whether it's someone that is tribal and that adheres to a very strict regimen to whatever type of tribal spiritual system they were raised in. I've never met anybody that was able to successfully navigate the winds of this life, the storms of this life, by themselves. Just them, with no spiritual relationship, no one in spirit that they align to, just them and their carnal knowing. I've never met anyone like that. And that in itself humbles you. And this brings me to my conversation that I have with you today, is that God is a God that honors his word. One of the things that God does not play about is his word. God takes his word extremely serious. He kind of lives by it. If you want to use that verbiage, he exists by his word. God creates through his word. God speaks a word and it's done. There's no delay. There's no any entity that can challenge it. When God creates, God creates. And this is what distinguishes God from everything else in this existence. And when we look at scripture, we look at a law, we look at a covenant, we look at promises that God has established that are not variable. They don't fluctuate. They are fixed. They stay the same. I don't care if it's today or I don't care if it was 1,000,000 years ago. If God spoke it, it's what it is. And these are the things that we must be able to align to in our walk with God. These are the things that create a level of faith in our walk with God that we can lean on. These are the pillars in the system of God that allow us rest, that allow us to keep going, that allow us the ability to endure. Because we know we're dealing with something that's fixed, that will not change. Even though people change, even though seasons change, even though things change, these things of God are fixed and they do not fluctuate. Yet when we deal with one another, you deal with temperamental people. And people change, friend. It's very difficult to put the entirety of your faith in a person. I don't care who it is. People change. People change and you will change. You're a person. Even as a parent, we see this often. We see our children grow up from babies to infants to small children to adolescents to teens and then to young adults and then to full-fledged adults. And with every degree of their growth, there's a different personality set that shows itself. And to be completely fair to them, in their growth, they see different personality sets to us. They see us grow with them, regardless of how old we are when we have them. We all change. The human condition is a changeable, is a fluctuating type of cyclic, seasonal condition that is prone to change. And in this cyclic, seasonal condition that we all have as humans, dependent upon what season you catch us in, we may very well have to renegotiate how we see one another, regardless to our relationship. Regardless of how close we are to one another, regardless of how much we love one another, we must renegotiate how we see each other based upon the criteria being presented within that season. It's just how it goes. But with God, it is not like that. God is the same God today as God was yesterday and as God will be tomorrow. And that in itself is the single-handed biggest gift we've got in this life, is that everything else will change but God. So that in itself should propel us to know God, regardless of what you call God. That in itself should push us forward even more to really investigate God, to find out the nuances of God. What are the promises of God? What are the laws of God? These things I must know before I know anything else in this life. Because it is of these things that all things flow. And it is of these things that I will find shelter if the winds ever get too monumental. If the storm comes abruptly and shakes the foundation from which I stand, I can find shelter in God. But with people, y'all, we don't have the same luxury. So what do you do when you're dealing with people that don't follow the same mantra as God? You could be a person that honors your word. You could be someone, I'm the type of person that I honor my word. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if I absolutely can't do it, I'm going to communicate to you that I can't do it. I'm just not going to leave you hanging. I'm not going to get mid-cycle and get bored with it and say, I quit and I'm out of here. Even though there are things that I get bored with, I'll look to try to see it through. And then if I can't wrestle with it in a way where I find it fulfilling, then I will leave it. Absolutely. But I'm going to be able to justify that I left it. Your word is very important in life. Yet the enemy knows this. We're dealing in life a lot of times with people that don't honor the same things that we honor. And a lot of times we're dealing, and that thing that we honor sometimes has nothing to do with God. It has to do with the philosophy a lot of times. Sometimes in life you're dealing with people that just don't see life the way that you see it. I speak a lot to playing by the rules, and this is what makes you, makes a contender different from another, is how you play the game. Are you fouling everybody out just to make the basket? Or are you playing by a particular rule or a law that in doing so really shows your level of skill at that sport? Yet that's my philosophy. That person that's playing at that sport with me, or that person's coach that's leading that person, may not adhere to my philosophy. They may say, get it however you can. All bets are off. I do it however I want to do it. They may live by will and will alone. And when you deal with those type of people that don't live by a law, or if they do, their law is different than your law. Their code is different than your code. How do you handle that? How do you handle people that will promise you something, knowing that they will never fulfill that promise? How do you handle people that just completely mirror everything you do? They do not honor anything that you honor, yet you must live in this, on this earth, in this planet, in this system with them. How do you handle that? Watching God. You see, God honors his word, but God is not predictable. When we look at the Bible, and I say this often, we look at a book that is speaking to the high notes of things. We look at a book that speaks to the things that matter, the meat of things, and then the side dishes that make the plate more appealing and flavorful. God doesn't really speak to that. It's as if the Bible speaks to main character energy only and does not give you the backdrop. It doesn't tell you what's going on specifically in the environment, so you can get a fuller, more seasoned perspective of what's being served. And that, in a sense, is how God is. God is the type of God that gives you the fundamentals that you need to pull from that will assist you in navigating your life. I'm going to give you the rule book. I'm going to give you the law. And I'm going to give you dominion. And I want to see what you do with the rule book and with the law. And I want to see how you handle this power that I give you in the form of dominion as it relates to the rule book and the law. And as it relates to if you honor the rule book and the law, or you choose to do your own thing, even though you have the rule book and the law. You see, it reminds me of what we're seeing is a Sumerian depiction of some of the Sumerian gods manipulating a tree. And I wanted to have this, but I can't seem to make it any smaller. You see this thing right here? That's a tree. And it's a tree. And wherever you go, you can Google the same image. You'll find this image over and over and over and over again. You see it down here? There it is there. That same image. These two men standing in front of this tree manipulating it. You can find this image anywhere. You find this image anywhere you go. Looking up any type of Sumerian, Mesopotamian knowledge, you'll find this tree. And it made me think of this tree because this tree is synonymous with the tree of life. It's synonymous with the tree of knowledge of good and evil. All of these different trees that we refer to in the Bible, these are depictions of somewhat similar trees in many of the ancient iconography. You will find these things everywhere. I mean, it's like finding a cross nowadays. You know what I mean? Like you see a cross, it's a normal thing to see. Like just like you will find an ankh in ancient iconography or symbology, you'll find these depictions of these individuals standing alongside this tree and manipulating it. And this tree is synonymous with feminine energy. When I say synonymous with feminine energy, I mean it is a tree that bears fruit. When you manipulate this tree, it will give you a response. It gives birth to fruit based upon how you manipulate it. Yeah. And I immediately, when I was thinking about God and God keeping his word and how do you deal with people in the world nowadays that just don't honor such a thing. You have people out here that will say one thing and agree with you and say, okay, we're going to do this, that, and the other, and then have no intention on doing it. None. They will say that with the hope that, whatever it is that they are looking to prevail in that situation comes to pass. And if it doesn't, they will change their perspective. They will act like they never made an agreement with you. They will never honor their word. They won't do anything to stand in the agreement that they have made with you or to honor the word that they have given you. And they won't feel any kind of way about it. Yet what we find is that in these instances, we can look to God and how God handles it. And we see that God does not fluctuate in his word. If God says he's going to do something, he must bring it to pass. But what God can also do is the unpredictable. And that's where our strength is. God can do the unpredictable by countering his word with an action that renders it powerless. Or he can allow his word to be fulfilled. And then in its fulfillment, or he can allow his word to continue to progress and be fulfilled, but then counter it with a scenario that he has created that renders it, that changes the result of it. That tree that we saw is the feminine principle in which God created. The ancients saw this feminine principle as chaotic. It was the force of chaos that actually formed this earth. But prior to it forming the earth, it was the force of chaos that reigned supreme. Yet it was not initially chaotic. In its most innate form, it's not chaotic. It's only chaotic when you look to handle it. This is why when you look at this iconography that I just put up of this tree, you see that what looks like strange beings manipulating this tree. What the iconography is conveying is that there is a level of mastery that you must have in order to interact with that feminine principle. The principle itself is not chaotic. It is the wisdom of the one that approaches it and that looks to manipulate it, that disallows it from blowing up in their face or from being having an adverse response to their manipulations. Yet, if the one that is upon it puts this tree in an environment that is not conducive to its highest good, or that does not manage it at its code, at its creation, then it is extremely chaotic. It's like a nuclear power plant, like I said prior to. It looks empty and quiet, but you don't want any parts of it. You must be knowledgeable of what you're dealing with before you approach it. Because in you approaching it without knowing what you're dealing with, it is a disaster. This particular tree, God created in a way that you cannot predict what its response is. You can't, you're not ever going to be as smart as it. And you must know that when you approach it. It's as if you must humble yourself when you come before it. And this is what I spoke to yesterday as it related to this principle. And I said that this feminine principle, the fruit, is what these entities came when Azazel, by way of Satan, came unto Eve, corrupted. He corrupted this fruit. Only he would be able to be masterful enough to know the science of approaching and corrupting in the way he did. He did not corrupt Eve completely to render her powerless. He corrupted her only in a particular way so that her fruit would forever be altered. The tree would still be in existence and it would still give forth fruit, and it would give forth good fruit. But it would be forever altered from its original form. Forever. God will create this tree, this feminine dynamic. And I'm not just talking about women. I'm talking about feminine dynamics. Those dynamics that take what you program it to be and convert it into something else, that give birth to something else. God will create this dynamic in a way that it would be extremely unpredictable. And because it is so unpredictable, you must be careful how you interact with it. That's why when we look at situations where God is honoring his word, he said, I spoke it, it's done. Yet, if he ever needs to change it, this is the same system that God is dealing with, this feminine principle. Father, please show me how I can speak this in the way that I feel it and know it in my spirit. This same feminine principle is what God is pulling from when he speaks a thing into existence. It is of this. And he's saying, I'll keep my word. My word will not fall to the ground. Yet I can establish my word in a way that it will be so unpredictable as to how it'll come about. There's nothing that can stop it. So you must honor that which that I have said you must honor. You must honor that which I have said you must honor. Because you know that this thing is so unpredictable and is backed by so much power that it will be detrimental to you if you don't. This is something that we all can utilize in our lives, y'all. Regardless of what type of people you are dealing with, whether they honor the philosophies of the God of the Bible or they honor the philosophies of another God or whoever they honor the philosophies are, it doesn't matter. All of these systems you see across the world honor this same philosophy because it is of this philosophy that all things come about. We can go anywhere and we will see all of these different trees and the beings look different, but the tree looks similar. There is always a tree in the middle, and you always have one being on one end and another being on another end, looking to manipulate it. This is what it's conveying. It's not a religious ideology that is founded of this. It is a universal science. We're talking science. We're not talking belief. We're not talking theology. We're talking spiritual science. So when you are dealing with people that do not honor their word, they don't honor their word. They'll tell you anything just to get you to buy in. You can move with much more ease and wisdom. You can be just like those people that you see managing that tree. If you look at it like that and you say, what do I have on my side? Unpredictability. It's a gift. Unpredictability. God is an unpredictable God in a sense. You don't know how God is going to make a thing come about. I'm here to tell you, when God uses you, you don't know in what direction God is using you. You can't forecast out far enough to see what God is planning. A lot of times you're the last to know. A lot of times you will be enacting a thing of God and you are moving one step at a time in your knowing of what you are enacting. I'm here to tell you. Unpredictability. Unpredictability. You can be unpredictable and not honor your word. Excuse me. Let me take that back. You could be unpredictable and not honor your word. Surely you could. But you could also be unpredictable and honor your word. God does it all the time. We see throughout the entire Bible God being unpredictable and yet honoring his word. And many of us must be, because those that don't honor their word depend on our predictability. That's all they've got. If you've given someone a promise that you will do X, Y, and Z, you still must honor your promise. But you can deliver upon that in a myriad of different ways. You're fulfilling your word. You've honored your promise. But you did it in another direction or another way that they never were expecting. These are things that we go through when we're being challenged by people that don't want to see us succeed. This will only make sense to you, and it will only be worth your while if you are in a situation where you're looking to honor your word either to yourself or to someone else, yet they don't want you to be able to do it. They could be right along with everybody else, but deep in their mind, they're angry. They're booing on the inside, but on the outside, bravo, bravo, bravo. But on the inside, it's completely different. This is how you keep everybody at bay. Regardless of if you're able to pinpoint the wolf in sheep's clothing or not. Whether there are wolves in sheep clothing or they're all sheep. This is the way that you must move in environments where you are unsure and there's a strong probability that there is no honor. You may be in a room full of thieves and there's no real honor amongst thieves. And a thief will never say, I'm a thief. Please forgive me. I'm a thief, but I'm not going to be a thief today. They'll never say that. So instead, you don't even worry about them admitting it. You continuously move through your life with wisdom and through observation and being unpredictable, but being unpredictable in a useful way. This is that. This was on my spirit today. This was on my spirit today. Don't be predictable. The less predictable you are, the more careful they handle you. Make them handle you with care. Because God created for you to be handled with care. The only time someone mishandles you is when they feel as if they know you. When they feel as if you are predictable. It's the only time. I encourage you to be like that nuclear power plant. Peaceful, serene, but extremely powerful. Extremely. But you show no sign to it. It's not a flex. And this way, only those that are wise enough to handle you will approach you. And when they do, they approach you with wisdom and honor, as they should. Because you stand in the knowing of what you have. And your knowing alone commands such a thing. This is my word for you today. I love you. Always looking to be useful. I don't know why that was on my spirit, but it was. And I found that I needed to convey it. And so I did. Be good to yourselves and be good to one another.